Right. Thank you so much for joining in the Transition Doula today. So it's wonderful. We continue, and now the theme is relinquishment of time and space. And while we hear that, and it sounds great, that suddenly there's a shift in time, and suddenly you're out of time, and maybe you just had the experience that you lost track of time, and entered deeply into silence, or in a light, or in a communication. Now, so the relinquishment of time and space is not, it's not a real happening in that sense. It's like now suddenly it dissolves. It isn't there anyway. But by my making it real, it appears to be there. That's why I'm talking to you, right? And so these things are, as concepts, easy, and as experience, you have to know. You will come to know what it means. Now, today, it was actually a couple of days ago, I posed the questions like, what would you do if this was your last day? And you might say, like, well, I don't really like to think about that. No, please, not yet. And so that's great. Well, whatever your response is, it's wonderful. It doesn't matter. But how about this? It's like, this is your last day. This is your last moment. This is like now everything dissolved. Just in an instant, everything dissolved. And time and space is released, is relinquished. Maybe not completely in your consciousness, but there's no such thing as time and space. Just temporarily, you seem to be running in the program, in the matrix, or in the memories. But these memories are in fact already gone. So everything you see is already gone too. We know this as lessons. For instance, in the Course in Miracles, lesson 15 of lesson 7, I see only the past. Lesson 15, it's like it's all images that I've made. Now that's putting that together, having in fact spread the power of my mind around in space and time, to see that there's things outside of me, to let them have power over me. But in the end, returning back to there's nothing outside of me, I recognize that as my reality. Is like literally I'm my own authority in that sense, like the source is flowing through me, but there is nothing else that has any power. So here I am, standing in presence. In fact, the world being over continuously, my world, my life, my existence ending continuously, not having any idea about any step from here, not having any idea about space and time, because there's nothing that reminds me of that. In fact, there's nothing that wants to invest in it. When my mind is in a release state, when my mind is literally open, there's nothing that can think about this place even. There would be no thought about it. What happens to the place? It disappears. It literally ends right here. So that's why I thought, like, to ask the question, like, what would you do if this was your last day? Is then the idea of, well, this is what's happening, and I'm practicing this continuously, releasing my mind of all the value that I give everything, in order to be free and not identified with something that I'm not. So I come into a recognition of my beingness. I'm coming into the experience of that. So, and then it's like, how are you spending your day? What do you do? What do you do the whole day? Like, what is it that you do the whole day if you have this as a practice? Well, like, it seems like I'm not doing anything, and at the same time I'm doing things. So where does that come from then? If it's not my idea, then it must be flowing through me, and I'm just instructed to guided to do what I do. But in fact, taking no credit for it, in fact, not using it to identify with it. No, it's just something that happens, that flows through me. And that's different. Like coming from a human nature, that's totally different. In my human nature, I do everything with a reason, with a convincing motive that would be literally bringing me into movement, into action, because I want to reach something, especially focus on the future. I want to be reaching something in the future. I want to accomplish something. I want to leave the world. That's what people say. Like, I want to leave this world in a better state than when I came. Yeah, that's great. That's lovely. It's a lovely attitude. But then, and now you hear that there is in fact no future, and that the past is gone as much as is the future. That there is only this moment, that we're practicing the presence to see that it's an infinite moment and literally become that infinite moment, not defined by anything, not having any motive, not any accomplishment, but a continuous fulfillment and a continuous birth and continuous newness and continuous peace, happiness, something that flows and is given birth. Like there's an anticipation related to the present moment that is absolutely ecstatic. Like you cannot wait for the next moment to be born. And this is the continual state of the infinite whole mind, communicating with everything, because it is literally what communication is. Now that sounds pretty abstract already, and it is abstract. That's why it doesn't make sense to really talk about it. It does make sense to experience it, of course, because it's literally what value, what sense is, what actually has value, what actually is something. The rest is not. So now we continue. So there's a lesson of A Course in Miracles that I want to use because it's such an incredible transition lesson. So first we will listen to me reading it all the way through. It's about 9 minutes of podcast. Then I divide it into, I think, 6 sheets or so, where literally in every paragraph there's a transition happening. There's something really opening up if you read it. So that's why I love to use this lesson. It's so specifically to the point at where we are actually practicing. So let me set lesson 131. No one can fail who asks to reach the truth. Failure is all about you while you seek for goals which cannot be achieved. You look for permanence in the impermanent, for love where there is none, for safety in the midst of danger, immortality within the darkness of the dream of death. Who could succeed where contradiction is the setting of his searching, and the place to which he comes to find stability? Goals which are meaningless are not attained. There is no way to reach them, for the means by which you strive for them are meaningless as they are. Who can use such senseless means and hope through them to gain in anything? Where can they lead, and what could they achieve that offers any hope of being real? Pursuit of the imagined leads to death because it is the searching for nothingness, and while you seek for life, you ask for death. You look for safety and security while in your heart you pray for danger and protection for the little dream you made. Yet searching is inevitable here. For this you came, and you will surely do the thing you came for. But the world cannot dictate the goal for which you search unless you give it the power to do so. Otherwise, you still are free to choose a goal that lies beyond the world and every worldly thought, and one which comes to you from an idea relinquished, yet remembered, old, yet new, an echo of a heritage forgot, yet holding everything you really want. Be glad that search you must. Be glad as well to learn you search for heaven and must find the goal you really want. No one can fail to want this goal and reach it in the end. God's Son cannot seek vainly, though he try to force delay, deceive himself and think that it is hell he seeks. When he is wrong, he finds correction. When he wanders off, he is led back to his appointed task. No one remains in hell, for no one can abandon his Creator, nor affect his perfect, timeless, and unchanging love. You will find heaven, everything you seek, but this will fall away, yet not because it has been taken from you. It will go because you do not want it. You will reach the goal you really want as certainly as God created you in sinless. Why wait for heaven? It is here today. Time is the great illusion. It is past or in the future. Yet this cannot be if it is where God wills his Son to be. How could the will of God be in the past and yet to happen? What he wills is now, without a past and wholly futureless. It is as far removed from time as a tiny candle from a distant star, or what you chose from what you really want. Heaven remains your one alternative to this strange world you made, and all its ways, its shifting patterns, its uncertain goals, its painful pleasures, and its tragic joy. God made no contradictions. What denies its own existence and attacks itself is not of him. He did not make two minds, with heaven as the glad effect of one and earth the other's sorry outcome, which is heaven's opposite in every way. God does not suffer conflict, nor is his creation split in two. How could it be? How could it be his Son could be in hell when God himself established him in heaven? Could he lose what the eternal will has given him to be his home forever? Let us not try longer to impose an alien will upon his single purpose. He is here because he wills to be, and what he wills is present now beyond the reach of time. Today we will not choose a paradox in place of truth. How could the Son of God make time to take away the will of God? He thus denies himself and contradicts what has no opposite. He thinks he made a hell opposing heaven and believes that he abides in what does not exist, while heaven is the place he cannot find. Leave such foolish thoughts like these behind today and turn your mind to true ideas instead. No one can fail who asks to reach the truth, and it is truth we ask to reach today. We will devote 10 minutes to this goal 3 times today, and we will ask to see the rising of the real world, to replace foolish images that we held dear, with true ideas arising in the place of thoughts which have no meaning, no effect, and neither source nor substance in the truth. This we acknowledge as we start upon our practice periods. Begin with this. I ask to see a different world and think a different kind of thoughts from those I made. The world I seek is not, I did not make alone, The thoughts I want to think are not my own. For several minutes, watch your mind and see, although your eyes are closed, the senseless world you think is real. Review the thoughts as well as which are compatible with such a world, and which you think are true. Then let them go and sink below them to the holy place where they cannot enter. There is a door beneath them in your mind which you could not completely lock to hide what lies beyond. Seek for that door and find it, but before you try to open it, remind yourself no one can fail who asks to reach the truth. And it is this request you make today. Nothing but this has any meaning now. No other goal is valued now, nor sought. Nothing before this door you really want, and only what lies past it do you seek. Put out your hand and see how easily the door swings open with your one intent to go beyond it. Angels light the way so that darkness vanishes, and you are standing in a light so bright and clear that you can understand all things you see. A tiny moment of surprise perhaps will make you pause before you realize the world you see before you in the light reflects the truth you knew and did not quite forget in wandering away in dreams. You cannot fail today. There walks with you the Spirit heaven sent you, that you might approach this door someday and through his aid slip effortlessly past it to the light. Today that day has come. Today God keeps his ancient promise to his Son, to his Holy Son, as does his Son remember his to him. This is a day of gladness, for we come to the appointed time and place where you will find the goal of all your searching here, and all the seeking of the world, which ends together as you pass beyond the door. Remember often that today should be a time of special gladness, and refrain from dismal thoughts and meaningless laments. Salvation's time has come. Today is set by heaven itself to be a time of grace for you and for the world. If you forget this happy fact, remind yourself with this. Today I seek and find all that I want. My single purpose offers it to me. No one can fail who asks to reach the truth. All right, so we're diving into this a little bit. Not a little bit, we're actually diving into this because of its content. It is so appropriate to use today. So here's our time and space relinquishment title. So we have no difficulty in admitting some things here. Failure is all about you while you seek for goals that cannot be achieved. You look for permanence in the impermanent. You know, the other day we were already into that a little bit. It's like we look for permanence in the impermanent, for love where there is none, for safety in the midst of danger, immortality within the darkness of the dream of death. So it's like pretty amazing for what you're doing as a human being. You really look for it in the place where it absolutely cannot be found. You get constant proof of it. So it's like you get constant proof of it, that is so. And you look for danger. Well, you hope to find peace, in fact. You look for danger. So it's like you look for something out there that you yourself put there. And now you expect it to give you something that you didn't have before. And it's really something that you want. Otherwise you would not be doing it. So you're, like in that sense, you're fooled quite good. Because you make believe that there is something there. And you have difficulties relinquishing that. You really think there is something there. And that's amazing, isn't it? like we read this, but then actually looking at the practice of it, like, yeah, I do believe that there's a world and that there's heaven. I do believe that there are two things in that sense. I live by that. Now, I can, in my, say, holy instances, or in my moments of meditation where I experience something else, this world seemed to be gone for just a moment. And I enter into a state where I experience different things. I experience light, I experience love and connection. And then I seem to be going back to a world of objects, of images, of things that I think I want, that I value, that I need, and that I say treasure. I embrace it. I want it. And that's why I'm right there. Now this can go in an instant when I release it. But there it is again. Now I'm valuing it. Now I'm here and so-called enjoying it. Or expecting something from it that it will never give me, but I will actually not give up trying. So that's really pretty amazing to discover. Now, and here is, after doing this lesson, you see that you've practiced this. And the thing is, it works better than you think. So now the next phase comes in doing these lessons. The next phase comes in that you actually see that it doesn't have value to you. But you're so, say, used to valuing it, or used to living that way that you value it, that it would be different to give that up too. And that's pretty wild. Like, it takes a moment to settle down into the acceptance of, no, this is working in me, and actually I see that nothing outside of me can give that to me. At first I had to attain it because of the imagined need that I had. Just like we had the other day about special relationships, like you want this person for, in the first instance, for the image that you think you need. For, you can say like, well, I'm not interested in form that much. I'm not, like, it doesn't matter how the person would look. I love the character. or how whatever is attractive to you. It's like, yeah, okay, so the character, that's wonderful too. So apparently you have an image of the character that's in front of you. You think this person is going to give you this and this and this, and so it is with objects. You think that car is going to actually give you what you think. That's why you think you need it. And I think this is an age in which that is being tested all over the place, because everything seems to be available. You think about it and there it is. So you see objects that, according to your image, you absolutely need and you would love to use because of your image about it. But then if you would buy it or if you would get it, it would not give you what you expect it to be. And you could care less after a couple of weeks or days. You care less about it and recognize, well, the value that I gave it, and it's absolutely not that. Now this is true for objects, for persons, but also for your spiritual journey. So that's an amazing thing too. You have a certain image of what this spiritual journey is going to give you. That's why you have an imagined need for doing it, for practicing it in this way, for instance, or using this book or this teacher or this who knows what. Like, you have an imagined need that you think you need that. And of course there's such thing as a calling, like that seems to be going beyond your action. Like, it is something that's given you. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. Yeah, well, that's also inclusive, of course, in the whole setup. So now this setup is used for your freedom, you could say, for your relinquishment. The setup is perfect, and no doubt about that. So that's why we come together. That's why we actually are, say, getting into action to take good looks and to allow ourselves to be undone, in fact, with confidence or with security, with a certainty that is given or demonstrated by one or to one another. You demonstrate this, how actually well this works, and that in itself is beautiful to see that. So that's why we meet as students too, or as companions, or as teachers, or who knows what, like as practitioners. We actually coming into the practice of confirming to one another, yes, this is working. Wow, I can't believe it. Now this is gone, or now I don't have any appetite for that anymore. I don't really care about all of that. That was so important to me a moment ago. I'm not letting my peace be disturbed by images that much anymore. And when I give up, when I allow something else to occur that is so fulfilling, I cannot believe it. And that's beautiful. Like, that's the way of spirit. And no matter who your teacher would be, if it's coming from wholeness, there's the Holy Spirit. It is a whole spirit. It tells you exactly, oh yeah, give that to me. I will return it back to you in a way that doesn't hurt you. And here it is. So you receive it back in a certain sense. You receive it back. And yes, indeed, it is fulfillment. It is confirming my connection with my brother in a whole new light that has no obligation to it, that has no habits to it, that has no patterns to it. Now it's fresh and new all the time. Now this is of course practicing the presence that we're doing, and so you recognize this. I'm sure of that. Keep doing that. So here we are. Be glad that you must search. That search you must. Be glad as well to learn. You search for heaven, and you must find the goal you really want. No one can fail to want this goal and reach it in the end. God's Son cannot seek vainly, though he try to force delay, deceive himself, and think that it is hell he seeks. When he is wrong, he finds correction. When he wanders off, he is led back to his appointed task. Well, there's not really a choice in that at all. So that's why I say it works really well. You can take your little detour into fear or resistance, or say like, well, I'll be back. For now, I'm good. We all have that. That does happen, So that's it. Really doesn't matter. What's the great thing about forgetting that you're even on a spiritual path? And the great thing about forgetting you're on a spiritual path is that you suddenly start to remember it. And this remembrance is gold, it's gold, a golden moment for yourself. Your detour into fear is one you know very well. So it's like it's a contraction. It doesn't feel good, but you're used to it and you struggle through it until you give up. No, suddenly there's the correction. You gave up the struggle. And here you are back and remembering like, oh my God, that's so good. That's so much easier. I love it. Thank you, God. And you're back. Your peace is established again, or re-established in your mind, in your consciousness. So this is how it goes. So it's not a big deal. So you don't have to be afraid to take a detour into fear. No, it is good. Like, let something happen. It doesn't matter. But you will come back. It will be corrected. And you can also stay on track, of course, by relinquishing everything, by releasing your mind valuing and validating and identifying, releasing that continuously. That's wonderful too. Like, then you stay in the remembrance and allow your mind to stay in an, say, elevated state of self, or a spacious self that you experience. That's great too. So in other words, there's no pressure. It is just you will see how well this works. So you can have your little tantrum here and there. That's perfectly all right. Yeah. Okay, so why wait for heaven? It is here today. Time is the great illusion. It is past or in the future. Yet this cannot be if it is where God wills his Son to be. How could the will of God be in the past and yet to happen? What he wills is now, without a past and wholly futureless. It is as far removed from time as is a tiny candle from a distant star, or what you chose from what you really want. So it is like, well, this is Jesus' way of being straightforward and being blunt and clear. It's like the difference, your imagined difference from heaven, your imagined distance from heaven can be described as this little candle in comparison to this remote star. It's like it's quite far from one another. Or what you want for yourself and what is really yours. That's as far as this little candle and this distant star. Now that's clear language. So do you recognize that what you want is so far distant from this incredible star out there, like light years away? And you think, and here we come into the healing practice or the quantum realization of this all. You think that is far, that can collapse in an instant into this moment where there's no distance at all and no time going on. It's like it would take eons to actually go from here, from your candle to the distant star. You wouldn't be able to do that in a human life. But here, in mind, it is easy. It is what we call like a miracle. It's like a holy instant. It is a moment of collapse of time and space into this moment. Time being relinquished, and it shifts into a holy recognition, a whole recognition of this moment. Like heaven is here right now. It is not in the future. There's no future accomplishment, and there's also no past. It's not that heaven was there, heaven is there in the past and you missed it. No, it's right here. So either you come into an experience of heaven, or it is not there for you. It's like this is where it comes back to all the time. Like heaven is here, you're on your way. So it's like you have the goal to achieve that, but when can it be achieved? Right now. You will come back to this moment right now to let that occur, to see that it occurred, to see that you were successful. Until the moment starts that you see that you are successful, finding yourself in the middle of a quasar of light, you could say, where time has collapsed. In your recognition, you stand in so much light that everything starts to make sense, that you see in a whole different way the wholeness of everything, like you see literally and you know all things. You come into your true expression. First you take a look at the thoughts. See, you watch your mind and see, although your eyes are closed, the senseless world you think is real. See, it doesn't stop when you close your eyes. The senseless world still repeats itself in your consciousness. Review the thoughts as well as which are compatible with such a world and which you think are true, and you think even that you want them. But then let them go and sink below them. This is a place adjustment. Let them go, sink below them to the holy place where they can enter not. There is a door beneath them in your mind which you could not completely lock to hide what lies beyond. It's like you try to close the door upon heaven. You try to close the door that is in your consciousness, deep inside your consciousness, below the thoughts of this world, of valuing this world. There's a deeper layer in yourself, and you did not manage to close that door completely. So in other words, there's still light shining through this little edge, this little line, this little a little flare of light is shining right through the crack, and it's actually reminding you of that what is there always. Now this you discover when your mind is done running around with the thoughts that you seem to be valuing. When you give that up, when you release that, and you sink into this deeper layer of yourself, looking for that door, seeing that it's not completely closed, then something happens. Seek for that door and find it. But before you try to open it, remind yourself, no one can fail who asks to reach the truth. And it is this request you make today. It's like, I cannot fail to reach the truth. It's absolutely impossible. Nothing but this has any meaning now. No other goal, like you're still in the depth of your consciousness. Nothing but this has any meaning now. No other goal is valued now, nor sought. Nothing before this door you really want, and only what lies past it do you seek. Put out your hand and see how easily the door swings open with your one intent to go beyond it. Angels light the way so that all darkness vanishes, and you are standing in a light so bright and clear that you can understand all things you see. So what happens to time and space? Well, like, it's gone. It's gone. Nothing happened to it. It's gone. It didn't need to be fixed. It didn't need to be repaired. It didn't need to be waited for. It didn't need to, all the things that we think we need to do with the world, didn't need it. Like this door is there. It's not even properly closed. You can enter into it whenever you want. You open that door with the certainty that you can go beyond it. And then suddenly you find yourself in a light that is so bright that you can understand all things. It's literally like there's no comparison to be made with this world, because this world is a world of darkness, of sickness, pain, death, disease, and all this. Like now we enter into a place inside ourselves where that can occur, where you actually come into that just by slowing down, by releasing thoughts, opening that door, knowing, like coming to the certainty that you cannot fail. Like this is the purpose of the universe for you to recognize. There's only one purpose here. Like you are at home, and nothing can touch you from being there. There's no opposite to it. So this was an essential transition lesson that I wanted to mention. And since there's a lot of very practical instruction, it's great to practice the lesson and to use it in your meditation or contemplation, or to go and search what is happening when I read this. What place is that I want to find? And I want to dive deeply into that, no matter what. And so this is the same then, if you could say extrapolate it to a situation in which you are with one who is on his so-called deathbed, and seeing that this is the last day, and not being afraid of that, but in fact it's like holding hands and walking down below, releasing thoughts and walking down below deeper, and opening that door and see what happens when the door opens. Like if you have practiced this, it has become your experience of yourself, then there's no fear connected to it any longer, and you can literally walk hand in hand into that. But at least see your certainty in receiving this for yourself is something that you extend just like that, because it's an experience you carry with you. It is right here with you. You know what this is about. Now here's your task as the practitioner or the transition doula, however you want to title it. And this is what you can give to one another, the certainty that it actually works, that it is here, the demonstration that that's actually occurring. And even talking about it is like, wow, this is so bright here, this place where we enter into. How lovely is that? How lovely is that? So that's so great. So I'm happy to come to this place with you and see what happens. You know, this is really lovely.